Welcome to Ghoulish Gab, always spooky, always under 7 minutes. I did the back. I saw you were going forward, so I went back. Today we're talking about some of our favorite movies that we think have some of the best practical effects. So before computers were doing all the work, people had to do everything by hand, and you had, you know, crazy shit that people were doing, effects wizards, all these masters. It's not exactly a
Nothing
lost art.
CGI, all in like all physical, tangible.
Yeah. Yeah, everything was just without computers. So I'm gonna start with one that I think might have some of the absolute best practical effects, just because it has so many that are so good, and that's Dead Alive from 1992. Uh, Before Peter Jackson went all Hollywood Hobbit on our asses, he gifted us this splat stick masterpiece. And especially the very final act, it's just bonkers, and it's good practical effect after another. I mean, there's so many to even try to mention. There's
I heard Dee Dee was really obsessed with the baby.
the baby is great. Um, there's it's kind of like a creature that's kind of like the innards of somebody, like all the guts and stuff, and it looks so cool, and it's got the slithery arms. There's just so many good zombie effects that were not just painted zombies, with like a missing limb or something. They do crazy stuff with all those, but there's great effects even just throughout the whole film, even before it really ramps up. And I think that might have like the most best practical effects in one film of any movie ever.
I've got one that could have relied on CGI but used a lot of practical effects because it's newer. Sean showed me 2020's Psycho Goreman,
Oh yeah.
and I had not seen it before. And holy shit, the practical effects in that when they could have just relied on CGI. If they had relied on CGI, it would have been a terrible movie. And the fact that they put in the practical effects, like that intergalactic assassins fight scene, and there's the one guy that's just like a tub of body parts, and then his like window gets like punched out, and then stuff spews everywhere. And it's this odd mix of like old school, um, like scary goth shit, and then there's like new school steampunk, but it's all practical effects. And then at one point, I think I looked at Sean and I was like, this looks like a more brutal version of a Power Rangers battle.
Yeah, that's kind of what I
Like,
thought too. I've watched that movie 3 times at least, and the first time, the only thing that kind of annoyed me about the movie was that little
the
girl was
girl,
a bit
she's so fucking
unsufferable.
annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's so easy for kids to ruin movies for me. That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
But every time I watched that movie again, I appreciated it more, and a lot of it was because just watching those effects and the different things that they did with it over and over. So I agree with that. That's a wonderful choice. My next one is Street Trash from 1987. There's it's there's a liquor store that ends up accidentally selling this toxic brew, or this liquor that ends up essentially kind of melting people, and the effects of like the people melting down is just awesome. Um, there's no real other way to explain it. You have to see it for yourself. There was a guy named Ken Brilliant who headed up the effects team on that, and he also went on to work on Interview with the Vampire and Batman Returns. So he went on to do work on some bigger movies, but him and his crew, the work on Street Trash, just with all the melting and people breaking down and turning into goo, looks amazing. And there's also a really great scene in the trash yard, where the couple people are playing keep away with somebody's dick that fell off, and that's great too. That's a great scene. The
You can't say no to, like keep away with somebody's dick. You can't say no to it.
no, it's just a bunch of people throwing a dick around the dump. They're having fun. It's
Um,
lovely.
I I feel like you can't talk about best practical effects without talking about An American Werewolf in London from
Ooh,
81.
yeah.
Like overall, the movie is good, but the practical effects, the friend who like in his head like just keeps getting more and more rotted. And then the rotting stage also makes sense. Like, and it's not real, but you can follow the progression of it from just like the straight up being clawed to as he starts to rot, but it never takes you out of the movie with how unrealistic it is. And the only part of the practical effects I don't like is while the werewolf is actually running. But like the werewolf transformation for its time is insane. How
Most
cool
of it
that
still
is.
looks really good still, even.
Yeah. Like if I saw that in a newer movie and I knew it was a practical effect and I saw how they were, I would be still stoked.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We're just about out of time. My next one is The Fly from 1986.
That was on my list too for next.
Everything in that movie just looks awesome. All the effects. It's so gross. It's just good at grossing you out. Yeah, it just every little part of the transformations and the changes. It's so disgusting. Tell us in the comments some of your movies that you think have the best practical effects and tell us what you thought of our picks, etc., etc. Okay, bye.